Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Crushing Land. Happy to have you here with us this week. And today we're going to be addressing another topic that is a misconception as this market continues to shift. It's something that's out there, something that's been asked about. We did a live training all last week. It came up in that training, and it's something that we're going to address a little bit more today. And that is basically what I'm going to call treating your land flipping, your land investing business the same as a house flipping, house wholesaling business. A lot of people come from the housing world, they get into land. And what they've done is they got disillusioned with houses. They realized it was difficult. They realized land was easier. They realized they could make the same profits. And so they came to the to the land world from the housing world. The other thing that happens is there's people with no experience, but obviously there's a whole lot more house investing programs out there, a whole lot more house investing information out there. And so they hear that, and what they're hearing, they're trying to implement into the land investing space. And the problem is that because of that, they take things way too far and go way too deep with it in areas that they don't need to do. I came from the house space and got involved in land 14 years ago. And at that time, I did a lot of things that I didn't need to do, spending time, spending effort that wasn't necessary because I was just used to it from the housing world. So let's talk about that for a few minutes, because some of the things that are being said, some of the things that students have brought up, things that they're hearing, whatever it may be. One is kind of like reverse engineering. There's nothing wrong with reverse engineering. Don't get me wrong. We reverse engineer all the time. What reverse engineering means is basically that you're looking at the end result and you're working way backwards on how to get there. In our case, though, that's simply a matter of, well, how many deals do I need to do to make X? How many people do I need to contact in order to do that many deals, right? We're keeping it very simple. The problem that people have is they start looking at all of these other X factors in this that they don't need to have included. So we've heard different ones say, well, you know what I'll do is I'll look at an area and I really want to become the expert in that area. I want to become the person in that area. That is a very, very, very common and smart thing to do in houses, not so much in land, simply because if you spend the time doing it in land, you're not going to really, it's going to dry up. You're not going to have some place that you can really grow long term. Yes, you can spend some time there and go back and build on it and spend more time. And really, we've worked in counties that we've had numerous properties and we knew it way inside and out, but it wasn't something that we could just be like, okay, let's just focus on this specific area or these specific areas if we really wanted to grow a business. And I've heard people, they've reached out to me, ones that have listened to this, ones that have done this, and they've all basically come to the same conclusion that it was great and I'm known here, but I need to expand out of it because it's drying up. I just don't have the ability to go that far. And the reason for that is there's just not enough properties to keep doing it. People are holding on. You're hitting the same list over and over again. And yes, there's some turnover on that list, but it's just not simply enough to really say, I am only going to focus on this area and do this. Whereas, there may be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of homes in that area. So obviously the time, the ability to do that is there, especially since there is a lot more turnover on those. The other thing that people talk about when they're doing this is building the relationships necessary to do that. And in reality, the relationships that we're worried about are literally just with closing companies, whether it be a title company or an attorney. And for that state, I personally love working with people that work an entire state that I don't have to keep finding new ones every time I move to a different area, right? But when it comes to houses, and then the mentality bringing into land is, well, I need to work on finding relationships with those people, which is true. But then they're also like, well, let's find some really good real estate agents to work with. And they focus on that and getting the properties listed and what can they bring me and what can I bring them, and I can give listings to them and they'll bring people to me. And we hardly ever use real estate agents in what we do. We've never have in all of these years. It's just not really necessary. There's cases where that's different. I've talked about that in previous episodes, but it's really not something that's all that common in this space in what we're doing. So that's a very that's a house mentality that's been brought in from house investors that are now new in the land investing space. The same is true with relationships with builders. There's nothing wrong with having relationships with builders. We've had them, we sell to builders, but that is not our end all be all. People get so hung up on that, and people talk about reverse engineering based on builders' criteria. Well, the builders say they want this, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to pull a list that finds that, and then I'm going to get that property or those properties that I'm going to sell to that person. I'm going to sell to that builder. Well, a couple different things there. One, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. What happens if that builder changes their mind, doesn't want that property? What happens if that builder buys something else and doesn't want more properties? What happens if that person just hits something where they're not doing it anymore? There's a lot of different things that can occur in the time frame that you're looking at, and you've just put all your time and effort into trying to work with that specific person. And even if it's a group of people, why are you focusing solely on builders? Don't get me wrong. I love selling to builders. We sell to builders all the time. They're some of the easiest buyers to work with. But the vast majority of our properties over the years that we've sold to have not been to builders. They've been to private owners. Okay. Well, builders are private owners, but not builders, private owners that are going to use it for whatever purpose. And the thing is as the economy shifts, as it becomes more of a buyer's market, builders are going to be less involved than they already are. Okay. Builders are not going to be picking up as much stuff. They're not going to be sitting on it. They're going to want better deals. They're not going to be owning a bunch of properties. They may buy one or two and sit on them if it's a good deal, but they're not going to be buying a bunch of them to put these homes on like they have been in recent years. So when you look at these things here that we're talking about here, what you need to do is you need to remove yourself from the traditional way of looking at things, which is the home way, right? The way you look at buying and selling homes. We're not buying and selling homes. We're buying and selling land. And it's simpler across all different areas of this business. It's simpler right from the get-go, and most people understand that as far as what's involved. But when it comes to the disposition side, right, they realize it on the acquisition, but then they complicate it on the disposition side. When it comes to the disposition side, it's the same exact thing. You do not need to overcomplicate it by reverse engineering it so much that you're like, well, I'm going to find it for this person and this thing and this type of area and this and this and this and this. All of these things don't need to be done. It's literally looking for parameters for what the property that fits those type of properties, and then from there figuring out, okay, this is how much I can average per deal. That means I need to do this many deals per month or per year or whatever it is to hit my goals. And in order to do that, I need to hit this many people because this is how many touches it takes to get a deal. And that's really as far as you need to take it. And if you overcomplicate it, it actually brings down your productivity. If you keep it simple like that and you keep focused, you're going to realize, yes, you're going to sell to builders. Yes, you're going to sell to very specific things like we've just talked about, but you're also going to sell to people that you never thought that you were going to sell to, because remember, you're not the buyer. So don't overcomplicate it. Don't treat it like it's house flipping or house wholesaling. It's about land. That's where the focus is. So again, just a misconception that's out there from a lot of people as we're getting into 2024 and a changing volatile market, as some are calling it. But as that's happening, they're kind of scaling in different ways. They're scaling back in different ways and looking at things in ways that they don't need to, and it's actually going to hurt their business. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Remember to come back next week as we discuss another situation like this, another topic out there that's being misconstrued and put out there that really can hurt your business, and something that you want to avoid to make sure that you get the best results possible in 2024 and every year moving forward in your land investing business. So thank you again so much for joining us. Make sure to comment below, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe to be able to catch all of our information, and feel free to reach out to us. Come and join us. We're having a special training that we talked about all day last week. If you want to know more about that, reach out to us. The information is below. A live training. You can come hang out with me. You can hang out with my business partner, Genius, as we really just blow up and dissect the entire land investing space and help you get your business going or bigger or whatever it needs to be. So if you have questions on that, reach out below. Thanks again for joining us. See you next week on Crushing Land.